The atmosphere in the courtroom was heavy with despair as Evelyn faced a difficult reality regarding her grandson Mark. She was acutely aware that the judge's decision, which favored her son Michael and his new partner Denise, was a hard pill to swallow. For the last decade, Evelyn had been embroiled in a complex legal battle for access to Mark, a struggle that had turned her later years into a mundane collection of court sessions rather than the retirement filled with family she had envisioned. The recent court session revolved around the details of Mark's summer schedule, which Evelyn desperately wanted to share with him at their cabin upstate, where she had imparted precious moments of early family life to Michael. However, her hopes were dashed as the judge ruled against extended visitation rights for her, citing the child's best interests as determined solely by the custodial parents. Evelyn reminisced about her close bond with Mark, who had lived with her during his early childhood. Yet, the law favored Michael's current life with Denise, obscuring the deep ties that once existed between Evelyn and her grandson. The weight of the moment was palpable as Evelyn sought out Mark, kneeling to speak to him earnestly, reaffirming her love and longing to take him fishing. Despite her heartfelt plea, Mark's response was a painful rejection, as he expressed a preference to partake in activities planned with Denise instead. The verdict was not only the legal loss of visitation rights but a profound emotional loss that left Evelyn feeling abandoned in a silence amplified by her son's indifference and Denise's quiet triumph. As they walked out, Evelyn caught a glimpse in Mark's expression that suggested he was not as willing as he appeared, leaving her with a haunting sense of foreboding about his emotional state. The text narrates Evelyn's intense emotional state and her primal fear when she perceives a serious threat to her son, Michael. Following a court proceeding that has escalated beyond a mere custody dispute, she becomes filled with a sense of urgency to locate her son and his new stepmother, Denise, who she believes may have dangerous intentions. Evelyn's perspective reveals her transition from a grieving mother to a determined hunter, willing to abandon her previous, peaceful life to protect her child. Evelyn drives in haste, her thoughts racing as she considers her next steps, seeking concrete information to unravel the seemingly perfect image that Denise and Michael present. In her desperation, she reaches out to an old friend, Maggie, a retired private investigator, who agrees to help despite the challenges involved in locating her son, Mark, amid the vastness of the Hamptons. Evelyn provides Maggie with sparse details, including Michael's vehicle, a black Escalade, and a notable accessory of Denise, a distinctive gold brooch. This exchange showcases Evelyn's deep-seated intuition regarding Denise's concealed aspects and her belief that the family is not as they appear. The conversation ends with Maggie emphasizing the need for Evelyn to uncover more information about Denise's background, as Evelyn reflects on the encrypted laptop used by Michael, hinting at secrets he has been keeping. The narrative encapsulates a mother's fierce protectiveness and determination to confront hidden dangers as she prepares to infiltrate her son's life to safeguard him from what she instinctively knows is a looming threat. The narrative revolves around Evelyn, who is attempting a break-in at her son Michael's house, which is equipped with a modern smart lock that far exceeds the value of her belongings. Despite Evelyn's limited criminal experience, mainly known for forgetting library books, she exerts her home economics problem-solving skills to unlock the door using clever deductive reasoning. After several failed attempts at guessing Michael's code based on significant dates, she recalls his passion for a childhood event, the regional soapbox derby, leading her to successfully unlock the door with the number associated with that memory. Inside the chilly house, Evelyn stealthily navigates to Michael's study to access his laptop, which prompts for a passcode. A series of attempts using sentimental references fails, compelling her to recall a past family visit where Michael had reacted defensively. Remembering a conversation about a hidden treasure in an old cabin, she inputs Kabinki, but it doesn't work. Time is pressing, and she notices a decorative item belonging to Michael's wife, Denise, which triggers a new idea. She guesses 48 old, referencing Michael's age, and this finally accesses the laptop, revealing the ominous file directory named Red_Sale. Her discovery heightens tension as she realizes Michael and Denise might be involved in illicit activities. The quiet moment is shattered by the activation of the home security system, indicating that Michael and Denise are returning home sooner than expected, leaving Evelyn in a precarious situation. Evelyn finds herself in a precarious situation in her son Michael's house, having accidentally become a cyber intruder while trying to gather information related to an ominous project labeled Acquisition Target, Sector 7/A. With the tension rising as she hears a large engine stop outside, she grapples with her choices. Flee, which would confirm her guilt, or hide, which proves impossible in the minimalist setting. Grabbing an adjustable wrench meant for self-defense, she creates a scene of chaos by smashing the mahogany desk and scattering its contents. Her intentions are to create a dramatic distraction, as she knows Michael and his wife Denise might be hiding something crucial on the open laptop. When Michael and Denise burst in, Evelyn quickly seizes the opportunity to confront Denise, accusing her of maligning her mental state to Mark. Despite Denise attempting to regain control by focusing on the laptop, Evelyn swings the wrench not to harm but to prevent access. Michael, shocked and angry, tries to handle the situation forcibly, leading to a heightened conflict. Amidst the shouting, Evelyn's act of madness seems to trap her into her character as a distressed mother. As the tension escalates, Denise urges Michael to expediently call security services to manage the fallout while the impending launch window draws nearer. Evelyn is forcefully ejected from the house, but she leaves with a sense of looming failure mixed with triumph, realizing that she has gained valuable knowledge, specifically about the importance of red_sale and the imminent launch. While observing from her car, Evelyn sees Michael retrieving a secure hard drive, confirming her suspicions of a more significant threat beyond her family woes. The secrets of Sector 7/A and the identity of the actual acquisition target remain unresolved, as Evelyn plots her next moves against a ticking clock. Evelyn drives cautiously through dark suburban streets, acutely aware that her failure in gathering critical data regarding red_sale, an active operation, has put her in a precarious situation. She contacts Maggie with urgent information about a significant launch window of 3 hours and an acquired hard drive. Maggie clarifies that launch window often refers to logistical movements rather than a literal launch, implicating possible smuggling or border crossing activities. Alarmed, Evelyn learns that a black Escalade is heading south towards Baltimore or Wilmington, key areas for heavy freight movement, prompting them to investigate further. Maggie reveals that Sector 7/A, an acquisition target, is linked to military grid codes or organized industrial smuggling operations, hinting at the suspicious Delaware shipworks as a possible location. As they discuss the implications of this discovery, Maggie conjectures about the involvement of Michael, an architect, and whether the target is actually a person rather than inanimate goods. This unsettling idea raises the stakes for Evelyn, especially considering Mark's terrified demeanor. Evelyn recalls her story requirement, the treasure of the elder, realizing that she might be the key to the operation due to an asset she possesses. After piecing together details from her past, she connects Michael's interest to items left by her husband, old astronomical maps and a neglected collection in their attic. Upon returning home, Evelyn discovers an ancient armillary sphere and a detailed map of the shipworks, which includes hidden sub-level tunnels. Inside the sphere, she finds a small antique key. Maggie, monitoring Michael's movements, warns that he and Denise are seen taking Mark onto a boat, preparing for a sea escape. She emphasizes the urgency of following them through the tunnels in the shipworks, suggesting the key Evelyn possesses may be related to the locket Mark wears, which likely contains the true treasure. The race against time intensifies as both women attempt to thwart a potentially dangerous human trafficking scenario. Evelyn drives cautiously through dark suburban streets, acutely aware that her failure in gathering critical data regarding red_sale, an active operation, has put her in a precarious situation. She contacts Maggie with urgent information about a significant launch window of 3 hours and an acquired hard drive. Maggie clarifies that launch window often refers to logistical movements rather than a literal launch, implicating possible smuggling or border crossing activities. Alarmed, Evelyn learns that a black Escalade is heading south towards Baltimore or Wilmington, key areas for heavy freight movement, prompting them to investigate further. Maggie reveals that Sector 7/A, an acquisition target, is linked to military grid codes or organized industrial smuggling operations, hinting at the suspicious Delaware shipworks as a possible location. As they discuss the implications of this discovery, Maggie conjectures about the involvement of Michael, an architect, and whether the target is actually a person rather than inanimate goods. This unsettling idea raises the stakes for Evelyn, especially considering Mark's terrified demeanor. Evelyn recalls her story requirement, the treasure of the elder, realizing that she might be the key to the operation due to an asset she possesses. After piecing together details from her past, she connects Michael's interest to items left by her husband, old astronomical maps and a neglected collection in their attic. Upon returning home, Evelyn discovers an ancient armillary sphere and a detailed map of the shipworks, which includes hidden sub-level tunnels. Inside the sphere, she finds a small antique key. Maggie, monitoring Michael's movements, warns that he and Denise are seen taking Mark onto a boat, preparing for a sea escape. She emphasizes the urgency of following them through the tunnels in the shipworks, suggesting the key Evelyn possesses may be related to the locket Mark wears, which likely contains the true treasure. The race against time intensifies as both women attempt to thwart a potentially dangerous human trafficking scenario. Evelyn finds herself in a dark, damp tunnel faced with a menacing Doberman, a clear indication of a security measure, not mere neglect. With no possibility of outrunning or fighting the dog, she quickly devises a strategy using the items in her backpack, a thermos of hot coffee and an oilskin map. Evelyn throws the coffee at the dog, temporarily blinding it, and seizes the opportunity to escape further into the tunnel. As she runs, she discovers a large cavern adorned with intricate, faded carvings resembling a nautical chart of uninhabited islands. One island is circled, corresponding to a symbol she previously noted on Michael's laptop, which referred to Red Undersail. The carvings reveal the Crimson Vessel Protocol, suggesting an ancient family secret tied to moving something illicit across sea lanes using the island's confusing layout. Evelyn realizes the map she carries is crucial, potentially leading to a treasure, and questions the roles of Michael, Denise, and the kidnapped Mark, who seems integral to accessing the secret as the locket is indicated to provide final access codes. In her hands lies a damaged military-grade satellite phone, which shows a threatening text about securing cargo at a rendezvous point before dawn, highlighting the urgency of her mission. When she attempts to retrace her steps to a primary exit, a sudden cave-in from the moist ceiling threatens her escape route, while the dog's agitated barking grows louder in the tunnel behind her. Evelyn now faces a race against time to reach the designated rendezvous point and uncover the family secret while navigating the impending danger from both the collapsing tunnel and the Doberman. Evelyn finds herself in a dire situation surrounded by danger as she navigates through a crumbling tunnel system. After the primary route to the seawall is blocked, she takes a risky detour into a secondary tunnel that leads her back toward the surface and a menacing Doberman. With the mission to reach the rendezvous point, Sector 7/A, which is a desolate island, she must outmaneuver the dog and reconnect with her colleague Maggie. Armed with a satellite phone and an old oilskin map, Evelyn's instincts drive her to a maintenance shack above ground that she hopes will lead her to safety. Inside the shack, she remembers her days teaching plumbing and comes across a valve labeled Sump Pump Diversion, Dry Dock. In a moment of desperation, she turns the valve, causing floodwaters to surge through the corridor, disorienting the Doberman and allowing her to escape. As she surfaces, drenched and cold, she manages to contact Maggie, providing vital information about the hidden treasure they are seeking, a locket that holds crucial access codes, instead of the gold one might expect. It is suggested that the locket is key to unlocking secrets related to a marine architect's legacy and potential hidden treasures. However, the situation escalates when a giant man in a security uniform confronts her. This is not Michael, but a hired brute known as the cleanup crew. Trapped in the shack and realizing her predicament, Evelyn devises a plan using her resourcefulness. By throwing her satellite phone at a breaker box, she plunges the room into darkness, hoping to turn the tables on the intimidating mercenary. The tension rises as she is left in the dark with him. Only the sounds of his heavy breathing and the ominous click of a taser fill the void, setting the stage for a precarious escape. The narrative centers on Evelyn, who finds herself in a tense and chaotic escape after a confrontation with a guard in a dark environment. She uses a rusty utility pipe to disable the guard and makes her way to an awaiting SUV driven by Maggie. They are racing against time to reach a boat, as police are momentarily distracted by a false tip about a fire. Evelyn possesses a small brass key that holds significant meaning, potentially critical to the success of their mission. Once they reach a fishing dock, they board a boat named the Retirement Plan. Maggie, an experienced retired private investigator, navigates the rough waters while monitoring the movements of Evelyn's son Michael and Denise, who appear to be waiting for a crucial opportunity involving the key. Tension escalates as Michael attempts to open a locket without the key, revealing interpersonal conflicts and heightened stakes surrounding Evelyn's family. As they approach the rocky shore, Evelyn prepares to use a small dinghy to get closer, realizing she has leverage because of the key. However, she is confronted by Denise, who threatens to harm Mark unless Evelyn surrenders the key. The scene is charged with emotional intensity as Evelyn grapples with the distressing reality of her son and grandchild being caught in a crime, underlining familial loyalty against the backdrop of desperation and danger. In a gripping scene, Evelyn finds herself in a tense standoff with Denise, who holds her son Mark precariously over a steep drop. Evelyn remains composed and tries to negotiate, asserting that Denise requires both the keys she possesses and Mark's safety. Denise, showing a cold and calculated demeanor, tries to manipulate the situation, insisting Evelyn hand over the key, but Evelyn counters, stating that she'll only exchange the key for Mark's safety at the beach. Amidst this confrontation, Evelyn's son, Michael, arrives, urging her to act for the family's future, but Evelyn retorts that the stakes are tied to Denise's criminal enterprise. The arrival of a mysterious black freighter adds urgency to the situation, as Michael demands the coordinates tied to the key. As Denise claims the key from Evelyn and reveals an unexpected twist, the contents of the locket include a rolled-up paper and a flash drive instead of the anticipated coordinates. In a moment of triumph for Denise, chaos ensues when Maggie, a private investigator, arrives with armed backup, trying to apprehend Denise. Ignoring the warnings, Denise makes a desperate move to escape into the water, swimming towards the freighter, leaving Mark behind and leaving Michael to contend with the tactical men. Evelyn realizes her critical mistake in the negotiation, creating an intense climax filled with danger and uncertainty. The chaos on the beach escalates as Michael finds himself immobilized with rifles trained on him by a tactical team on the bluff. Meanwhile, Mark, overwhelmed and weeping, collapses into his mother Evelyn's arms, who comforts him while scanning the surroundings for danger. Urgently, Maggie on the bluff calls for evidence, instructing Tony to secure Michael and Ben to pursue Denise, who is trying to reach a freighter. Taking advantage of the moment, Michael bolts towards a Zodiac but is quickly tackled by Tony. Evelyn notices what Denise has left behind, including a flash drive and a locket, and she hurriedly secures them. As they flee towards the retirement plan boat, Maggie arrives, confirming Michael's capture and emphasizing the urgency to examine the contents of the flash drive. On the trawler, Evelyn connects the flash drive to a laptop, revealing a massive video file titled Elder Unterfesser Final. The video features her late husband's grandfather, Arthur, explaining that the Crimson vessel is a secure bank for sensitive, untraceable currency. The unclaimed global treasury bonds worth hundreds of billions. These bonds, if released, could trigger global financial chaos, which explains why Michael and Denise are after them, not solely for wealth but for power. As they approach the freighter, Maggie tightens the wheel, maneuvering while a figure on the ship aims a water cannon at them. With the threat of the ship's defenses activating, Maggie warns they cannot board directly and mentions a submerged emergency hatch as their only alternative, which poses its own challenge. Evelyn and Mark, along with Maggie aboard the retirement plan, engage in a desperate mission against time and overwhelming odds. As a high-pressure water cannon threatens to capsize their trawler, Evelyn insists on boarding a larger ship, the Crimson vessel, for a critical operation while urging Mark to stay with Maggie and not let her retreat. Demonstrating resolve, Maggie navigates as Evelyn devises a plan to use the ship's blind spot near the waterline to board through a small emergency hatch. Maggie facilitates Evelyn's daring move by creating an artificial wave to propel her towards the hatch. With the aid of a brass key, Evelyn manages to open the hatch and enters the freighter's dark, industrial underbelly. Inside, she is confronted with a complex vault that requires an 8-digit code. Failing with the initial code she recalls, she remembers the micro-engraving inside her locket that bears her late husband Arthur's name. However, when she attempts to input it as a name, she realizes she must convert it into numerical format. As she struggles to find the right solution, ominous sounds reveal that Denise, her adversary, has breached the vault and is activating a disquieting mechanism designed to expel the vault into the ocean. A countdown timer indicating 5 minutes to launch adds urgency to Evelyn's already precarious situation, amplifying the tension as she races against the clock to stop Denise and secure the global financial bonds. The stakes are elevated as the threat of losing everything looms ever closer. In a high-stakes scenario, Evelyn faces a daunting deadline as she attempts to thwart her daughter Denise's destructive plan to sink the vault containing valuable bonds. The act, deemed economic terrorism, compels Evelyn to quickly decode a message hidden in a locket that belonged to her late husband, Arthur. The elder's fascination with the stars leads her to employ the astronomical alphabet for deciphering the key. As the clock ticks down, Evelyn struggles to consolidate the long string of numerical equivalents derived from the locket's letters into an 8-digit code. Initially, she combines significant years, 1944, when the bonds were issued, and 1999, the year Arthur died, forming an unsuccessful combination of 1944, 1999. With time running out, she refocuses on her family's legacy, entering 1959, 2013, representing her birth year and that of her grandson, Mark. This successful entry grants her access to the vault. Inside the ominous, steel-lined room, Evelyn finds Denise hastily gathering the bonds while initiating a countdown to sink the vault. Denise declares her intent to escape using a secondary exit, and with a menacing touch, she threatens to destroy the invaluable bonds by setting fire to one, aiming to coax Evelyn into relinquishing the satchel. The tension escalates as Evelyn, determined to stop her daughter, refuses to let go, risking the world's financial heritage in the process. Evelyn faces a dire situation as she watches a bond paper burn while her grandmother, Denise, threatens to destroy it all. Relying on her home EC training, Evelyn quickly swings a satchel to knock the lighter from Denise's grasp, extinguishing the fire but suffering a burn in the process. This distraction allows Denise to escape through a tunnel, leaving Evelyn alone in a vault with a countdown timer ticking down from 1 minute and 45 seconds. Ignoring her injury, Evelyn connects a flash drive to the vault's terminal, only to be thwarted by her son Michael's voice, who reveals a failsafe that prevents her from aborting the vault's expulsion without his biometric override. In a desperate attempt to save the bonds and confront her son's actions, Evelyn rebukes Michael for jeopardizing their family's future. With options running out, she notices a hidden modification to the terminal with her grandmother's handwriting. Instead of standard technical options, it offers moral lessons, integrity, patience, and self-sacrifice. Aware that a full system override would sink the vault, she opts for patience, knowing it will take longer than the time remaining. As the vault trembles, Evelyn realizes the bonds must be saved even if it means risking her own safety. Just as hope seems lost, she hears a voice calling out to her from behind, indicating that help may have arrived just in time, urging her to stop the clock and save them all. Evelyn is initially shocked to find her grandson Mark in a perilous situation within a sinking vault. He is trapped in the entry chamber due to a safety lockdown placed by Michael, who is presumably a threatening presence, and he urgently communicates a code that recalls a family legacy linked to a locket. Evelyn realizes that the code she has been using is inadequate and inputs Mark's 8-digit code, successfully stabilizing the vault. Despite the crisis, Mark conveys critical information about the situation outside, revealing that a woman named Denise did not take all the valuable bonds, leaving them scattered nearby on the floor. Once the vault is stabilized, Evelyn is motivated to open the main door to assist Mark, instructing him to retrieve the bonds and stop the ship from departing. Mark's cunning and bravery allow him to swoop in and gather the bonds before disappearing down the corridor, drawing a sense of pride from Evelyn. However, the tension escalates when Denise returns, drenched and furious after failing to escape, intent on taking the remaining bonds. She threatens Evelyn, brandishing a knife, and reveals her dark intention to eliminate Evelyn, ensuring that Mark learns a harsh lesson about the legacy and its sacrifices. The scene is fraught with suspense, encapsulating themes of family loyalty, legacy, betrayal, and the struggle for survival against formidable adversaries. Denise confronts Evelyn in a high-stakes encounter within a vault. With a knife in hand, Denise, who is young and desperate, threatens Evelyn, an experienced grandmother and survivor accustomed to managing challenging situations. Cornered by the vault's acrylic case and pressure door, Evelyn relies on her wits instead of physical strength, taunting Denise about her losses related to Michael, who has suffered the tragic death of his son. As Denise reacts in fury, Evelyn skillfully sidesteps her attack and uses a stack of treasury bonds to create a barrier, scattering the valuable papers in the process. This moment provides Evelyn with the opportunity to trip Denise, causing her to fall and lose control of the knife. Seizing the moment, Evelyn applies a wrist lock, recalling a self-defense lesson from a police officer. Denise resists violently, underscoring the desperation underpinning her actions. During their struggle, they accidentally trigger a hidden floor panel revealing a leather-bound book, the Elder's Journal, which Denise suddenly desires intensely. Breaking free from Evelyn's grip, Denise grabs the journal, leading to a chaotic series of events. In a bid to thwart Denise's escape with the journal, Evelyn throws a brass locket at the main terminal, triggering a Level 3 security protocol that threatens to deplete the vault's atmosphere. Michael's voice announces the imminent danger of suffocation, shifting the focus from Denise's escape to Evelyn's survival. Faced with a choice between escaping or trying to prevent Denise from taking the journal, Evelyn's decision becomes urgent as the escape tunnel's entrance closes. Michael's chilling remark reveals his intent to eliminate all witnesses, especially those who might uncover the secrets within the Elder's Journal. This thrilling confrontation encapsulates themes of desperation, survival, and the lengths one will go to protect family and secrets. In a tense atmosphere aboard a ship, Denise and Evelyn find themselves trapped due to Michael's betrayal, who has locked them inside a vault. Denise, in a fit of panic, tries to find an escape in the Elder's Journal while the air grows thin. Meanwhile, Evelyn, seizing the opportunity, bolts through an open-pressure door into a sealed entry corridor, narrowly escaping a vacuum situation but becoming trapped in a small chamber with no exit. As Evelyn struggles to find a way out, she receives a desperate communication from her grandson, Mark, who is stuck in the ventilation shaft and alerts her to the impending activation of the Midnight Run Protocol, a dangerous maneuver planned by Michael to make a break for international waters. With the stakes escalated, Evelyn realizes that the safety of her grandson and the fate of the world economy are at risk if Michael succeeds in commandeering the ship. Determined, Evelyn spots a rusted ladder leading up to a maintenance hatch and climbs into the ship's ventilation system. She maneuvers through the stretch of heating ducts, following the sound of the engines, until she sees Mark struggling below in the engine room. He identifies a series of pressure release valves crucial for their plan to blind the bridge with emergency steam. However, their escape plan is threatened when armed security teams appear in the engine room, actively searching for Mark. Upon witnessing them, Evelyn must remain silent, pressed against the duct wall to avoid detection. As the team leader prepares to use a concussion grenade, Evelyn faces a life-and-death decision. Jump down to save Mark, risking exposure, or stay hidden while he is in danger. This precarious moment reveals the character's desperation and resourcefulness amidst a dire situation. Evelyn finds herself in a precarious situation, holding a spanner as she desperately avoids capture by security guards aboard a ship. In a split-second decision, she creates a loud distraction by striking a ventilation grate, causing the guards to misdirect their attention. Seizing the opportunity, she escapes into the ship's maze of pipes and catwalks. Meanwhile, Michael's command over the intercom signals heightened tension as he instructs the team to secure the bridge and launch a decoy boat to divert attention. Evelyn quickly looks for a way to aid Mark, who is separated from her due to the guards. She activates an orange pressure valve, releasing a thick, blinding steam that confuses the security team, allowing Mark to dash towards her. The two find a narrow staircase leading to a utility closet adjacent to the ship's navigation bridge, where they plan to disable the steering to prevent the ship from proceeding to open waters. As they strategize, they face a challenge. The door is locked with a code that Michael, Evelyn's son, has set. Mark believes it relates to a poetic clue left by his grandfather regarding an astronomical date. Frustrated with Michael's puzzle, Evelyn is soon confronted by him. Although he is disheveled, his demeanor is threatening as he reveals a sinister plan tied to the ship's rudder control, which could lead to catastrophic consequences should she disobey him. Michael reveals that the code is not simply a date but a twisted lesson, one that emphasizes sacrifice for a supposed greater good. He holds Mark's safety at stake, coercing Evelyn to comply while making it clear that her failure to obey would result in their mutual destruction. The tension culminates as Evelyn realizes the dire stakes of their situation, caught between familial bonds and the imminent threat posed by Michael's machinations. In a tense scenario aboard the Crimson vessel, Evelyn finds herself in a precarious situation inside a small closet. The atmosphere is thick with urgency as she stands on a pressure plate that presents her with a critical decision. Remain in place to allow Michael, her adversary, to escape, or move and trigger a catastrophic collision that could lead to the demise of the ship and its crew. Evelyn confronts Michael, asserting his deception regarding Mark's whereabouts, despite her voice betraying her trepidation. As Michael advances, holding the journal, the door to the bridge bursts open, and two armed security personnel named Tony and Ben apprehend him, revealing they are not his allies but part of Maggie's backup plan. Tony urgently calls for Evelyn to vacate the closet, but in the chaos, Michael's fall causes a chain reaction. The vessel begins to veer uncontrollably, a result of an emergency override he had previously set up. Evelyn realizes the gravity of her position. The pressure plate is not a trigger for disaster, but rather the sole thing preventing it. As the ship's compass spins erratically, Michael's desperate cries implore her to stay on the pressure plate, insisting he never intended to harm Mark, but rather desired to secure their legacy. The narrative encapsulates a gripping moment of choice, highlighting themes of loyalty, desperation, and the heavy burden of critical decisions made under pressure. In a tense scenario aboard the Crimson vessel, Evelyn is tasked with securing the ship's controls in the midst of chaos caused by a disaster. Her grandson, Mark, seizes the opportunity to act heroically by using a fire axe to sever the electrical conduit that powers the rudder, resulting in a deafening crash and plunging the vessel into darkness. Although the ship's erratic movement is halted, it remains in a precarious position, tilting but slowly maintaining its course. Meanwhile, Michael, restrained by guards, expresses his frustration and regret, along with a sense of betrayal towards Evelyn. In the dim light, Mark alerts Evelyn that a dangerous situation is still unfolding, pointing out that Denise has infiltrated the air ducts and is heading toward the manual navigational helm, determined to steer the ship towards a collision with an incoming oil tanker. With urgency, Evelyn and Mark ascend to the main deck, arriving just as dawn breaks, revealing the looming threat of the tanker just 50 yards away. They witness Denise on the bridge, vigorously cranking the helm to redirect the ship's course for what appears to be a distractive maneuver rather than a crash. In a confrontation with Denise, Evelyn dodges an attack aimed at her and throws a flash drive to distract Denise. Although Denise catches the drive, she simultaneously loses control of the ship, resulting in a violent collision that creates chaos on the bridge. The impact sends Denise against the shattered navigation glass and threatens to eject the valuable Elder's journal from the ship into the turbulent sea. Evelyn's scream cut through the chaos as her friend Mark stood perilously close to the shattered window after a violent collision. The oil tanker emitted an urgent distress signal, temporarily evading a potentially catastrophic crash, yet left in a state of disarray, drifting aimlessly towards open waters. With palpable tension, Evelyn implored Mark to seize control of the helm and prevent the rudder from spinning wildly. Meanwhile, Denise teetered on the brink of despair, desperately clinging to the Elder's journal and the flash drive, her lifeline amidst her fear of the churning waves below. Evelyn urged her to relinquish the journal, asserting its worthlessness compared to Denise's life. However, Denise stubbornly clung to it, arguing that it represented her future. As she felt the weight of her predicament, she ultimately attempted to retreat from the window but was driven by rage towards the helm, hoping to manipulate Mark to coerce Evelyn. In a protective instinct, Evelyn threw a fire extinguisher with surprising force at Denise, incapacitating her and allowing Evelyn to seize the knife from the fallen woman. Despite the ship's precarious tilt, the immediate threat momentarily subsided. Just then Michael, emerging from hiding after evading capture, revealed his ulterior motive. He had activated the emergency steering system, locking the ship into an irreversible trajectory toward the Elder's abyss, where it was programmed to scuttle in just 10 minutes. Michael, with a calm demeanor, informed Mark that the true treasure lay in a secret that needed safeguarding. He raised a damaged circuit board, prepared to destroy the ship's self-destruct override potential. Evelyn, knife in hand, realized the urgency. The ship's countdown echoed throughout, marking the seconds until their fate was sealed. To avert total destruction, they needed access to the vault containing crucial controls, yet Denise's determined offspring stood as a formidable barrier, blocking not only the helm but the only path to escape that lay within the depths of the ship. The narrative centers around a high-stakes confrontation on a bridge, where Michael, holding a damaged circuit board, faces the imminent self-destruction of a ship. Evelyn attempts to disarm him not through force, but by provoking his deep-seated insecurities tied to his legacy. She asserts, "You're a fake, Michael," to challenge his belief that power lies in destruction rather than preservation. She reminds him of his grandfather's principles and the true purpose of their architectural inheritance, highlighting Michael's flawed perception shaped by his association with Denise, who influenced his extreme measures against the ship's legacy. As tension escalates, Mark executes a distraction by igniting a flare near flammable navigation maps, which forces Michael to divert his attentions to saving the plans rather than protecting the circuit board. This moment of vulnerability allows Evelyn to seize the board from him and destroy it, readying them for the next phase of their struggle. With the ship's countdown intensifying at T-7:15, Evelyn seizes control of the vessel's navigation but realizes she must act swiftly to prevent a total scuttle. The override code is secured within a vault terminal. She urgently communicates with Maggie, who promises to help but warns about time constraints due to the Coast Guard's delayed arrival. The story builds towards a critical juncture as Evelyn recalls information from the Elder's Journal, the key to a potential escape, emphasizing the urgency of their situation as the vessel's systems begin to react to the impending self-destruct sequence. This inner conflict and the race against time not only highlight the stakes involved but also delve into themes of legacy, control, and preservation versus destruction in the backdrop of a looming disaster. Evelyn urgently engages with a malfunctioning ship, realizing the dire situation as she slams the journal onto the communications console, witnessing the ship's instability with T-602 approaching. She informs Maggie about her plan to access the vault entry chamber, indicating the door's reinforced structure presents a formidable challenge. As Evelyn and Mark race to the chamber, they encounter Michael incapacitated on the floor and Denise struggling to retrieve a dropped weapon. Upon reaching the vault, the door is locked, and traditional means of access, like the brass locket key, prove ineffective. Referring to the Elder's Journal, Evelyn discovers that the vault's mechanism is not merely digital but involves environmental interactions. The Elder's mark integrates with the ship's pressure sensors to heighten the door's security when scuttling is initiated. The journal also unveils a contingency method involving the Elder's locket, which is designed to conduct an electrical surge capable of overriding the lock solenoid in emergencies. Realizing the need for ingenuity, Evelyn retrieves the brass locket, recognizing its Faraday cage design from the journal. She instructs Mark to utilize a small emergency battery pack he has to provide the necessary current for the locket. As she improvises by connecting the locket to the battery pack with wire, Evelyn locates a hidden sensor patch near the vault lock. Activating the charge reveals a dramatic blue spark and a high-pitched zap, marking a pivotal moment in their struggle against the mounting pressures of their environment. In a tense scene, a massive pressure door begins to open as the countdown hits T-420. Evelyn urgently instructs Mark to prepare the flash drive as they enter a vault now enveloped in darkness and silence due to the depletion of the atmosphere. Inside, they find the bonds secured in an acrylic case, but the primary terminal is shattered, rendering it unusable. In a moment of desperation, Evelyn spots a functional secondary terminal, which bears the label, "If they forget the code, use the lesson." Mark quickly plugs in the flash drive and the menu options appear. Integrity, patience, self-sacrifice. Remembering their past failure with patience, Evelyn grows anxious about their next move. Unexpectedly, Denise reveals herself, previously thought to be unconscious. She drops down from a concealed position, wielding a large, serrated knife, and declares her intention to kill them, claiming the vault as her tomb. An intense struggle ensues as Denise lunges at Evelyn, who instinctively pushes Mark out of harm's way. In a swift motion, Denise stabs the secondary terminal instead of Evelyn, causing the screen to shatter and the flash drive to be thrown off the terminal, thereby severing their connection to the crucial data. As irreversible commands begin to upload, the options on the screen vanish, plunging the vault into complete darkness and leaving them in a perilous situation with dwindling time and precious options. The scene unfolds in a claustrophobic, dark vault where urgency reigns as Denise and Evelyn are faced with an imminent crisis. The tension escalates as Denise, in a frantic state, has just destroyed the last functional control panel necessary for their escape. With time running out at T-3:30, Evelyn, despite the chaos, focuses on retrieving a crucial flash drive from the floor, which she finds hidden beneath scattered global treasury bonds. Denise, caught in a hysterical panic, screams at Evelyn, convinced that their fate is sealed, echoing her fear that they will all die. However, Evelyn counters this despair with a profound truth she has discovered in the Elder's journal. The bonds are not merely currency, but a critical security mechanism in the global economy. She explains that releasing them could lead to devastating economic collapse, while destroying them would negate all outstanding claims, thus securing global stability. In a climactic moment of realization for Denise, Evelyn reveals the ultimate act of self-sacrifice that the Elder had orchestrated, knowing Michael's greed and impatience would prevent him from making the right decisions for the greater good. Evelyn boldly throws the flash drive upwards, choosing to smash the display case housing the bonds with a fire extinguisher, declaring that they must burn them all. Denise reacts with horror over the potential loss of value, but Evelyn is resolute. She retrieves a lighter that Denise had previously discarded, igniting the first stack of bonds, which quickly catches fire, illuminating the vault as it fills with smoke and heat. This sacrificial act is not only a desperate attempt to save themselves but also triggered by a hidden instruction from the Elder's journal that requires a rapid temperature spike to activate a pressure release valve, signaling the last possible chance for salvation. With flames engulfing the bonds, Evelyn rushes to a secondary terminal, the heat causing the screen to flicker back to life. Mark joins her in gathering the remaining bonds, fully understanding the gravity of their actions. As they proceed, the screen ultimately displays the option for self-sacrifice, which flashes green, leading Evelyn to slam the button, sealing their fate in an act of desperate heroism. A loud hydraulic thunk echoed through the ship, leading to an immediate freezing of the self-scuttle counter, deactivation of emergency systems, and successful abort of the self-destruct sequence. Despite this, a fire was rapidly spreading, prompting Evelyn to confront Denise, who was frozen by the sight of their financial assets being destroyed. Evelyn declared, "You chose the money, Denise. I chose the world," as she took the Elder's journal, indicating her prioritization of greater values over wealth. They escaped the vault and sealed the heavy pressure door, just as the last remnants of their financial documents burned. Although they secured the ship from immediate destruction, their safety was short-lived as a new alarm sounded, indicating critical failures. Engine bay overheat. Hull breach confirmed. Hazardous cargo leak detected. This due to severe damage from a collision with an oil tanker and the intense heat of the fire, resulting in a leak of volatile fuel into the bay. This situation posed a significant risk of both a massive explosion and an ecological disaster, highlighting the precariousness of their escape and the dire consequences of their prior choices. In a tense and perilous situation aboard a vessel, a hazardous cargo leak is detected, prompting an urgent response from Evelyn and her grandson Mark. With just 1 minute until critical pressure failure, Evelyn races to the engine room, where they find Michael, now restrained by Maggie's security personnel. Evelyn, clutching the Elder's journal, instructs Mark to locate the schematics within it. He discovers the existence of a manually accessible fuel release valve deep within the engine core, which can only be reached through a maintenance crawl space that is too narrow for the larger security personnel. Evelyn decides that Mark should undertake this dangerous task due to his smaller size and familiarity with the valves. She warns him to twist the blue valve labeled Elder's Integrity. As Mark squeezes into the claustrophobic tunnel, he embarks on a race against time, while Evelyn confronts Michael, who rationalizes his actions by claiming he was trying to protect the family. Desperate minutes pass as the Coast Guard signals their imminent arrival, but the focus remains on Mark's progress. Eventually, Mark emerges from the crawl space, filthy but triumphant, confirming that he has successfully closed the valve and stopped the leak. However, just as they breathe a sigh of relief, Denise escapes from another chamber, abruptly snatches the Elder's journal from Evelyn, and discards it over the railing into the turbulent waters below. This act of desperation results in the loss of the Elder's valuable knowledge, leaving Evelyn and Mark safe yet profoundly empty-handed, deprived of the treasure that contained their family's legacy. In the aftermath of the journal's disappearance, which marked the end of a critical chapter in their struggle, Denise collapsed on the deck, overtaken by exhaustion after her spiteful actions. Evelyn and Mark watched the spot where the journal sank, a poignant reminder of both their victory in thwarting an environmental and economic disaster and the loss of the tangible legacy symbolized by the journal and the now-turned-to-ash bonds. With Denise and Michael arrested due to compelling evidence against them, the narrative of their heroic actions solidified as they were acknowledged for saving both the ship and the bay. Back on the mainland, Evelyn and Mark reflected on their experiences together. Mark, clutching an empty antique locket that once belonged to his great-great-grandfather, questioned the loss of the journal and what it meant for their inheritance. Evelyn reassured him, conveying that the true value of their legacy was not in material wealth but in the integrity and knowledge passed through generations. She emphasized that the wisdom of the elder transcended physical assets, encapsulated in the familial bonds represented by the initials inscribed within the locket. Through this reflective moment, Evelyn illustrated how Michael and Denise lacked the understanding of true value, focusing instead on financial gain, while Mark grasped the lesson of self-sacrifice and integrity. This moral heritage shaped their identities, affirming that true treasure lies in the lessons learned and values held rather than in any tangible wealth that could be lost or destroyed. Ultimately, Evelyn's journey was not solely about fighting for custody. It was a deeper commitment to preserve a legacy of moral strength and wisdom that would guide future generations. She succeeded not only in saving her grandson from greed, but also in ensuring that the right principles would inform his path forward.